James Gatz, one of the most widely known elite socialites of the 1920s. The West Egg resident was famous for his large spending and over-the-top parties. He had a life sought after by many, a life full of love and lust. However, his demise was one of horror and malice. James Gatz, also known as Jay Gatsby, was found dead in his pool one autumn night in 1922. While there have been many speculations on what happened that night, nearly 100 years later, there are bigger questions being asked. Where did Gatsby come from? Did his lifestyle lead to his early death? Does a lifestyle of wealth and luxurious facade lead to detrimental misery and a lack of fulfillment? We look into this tonight for the next 15 minutes.
The Gatsby House, while its stature is arguably magnificent, it represents the deeper issue. Gatsby's to find validation. One can speculate that this need stems from early childhood. However, the backstory of James Gatz has been a mystery for many years. On our quest to answer the bigger questions and uncover the truth on Gatsby's early demise, we reached deep into the past and got in contact with Gatsby's father, Joseph Gatz.
Joseph Gatz, you're the father of Jay Gatz, is this correct?
Yes.
What can you tell us about Gatsby as a child?
Well, admittedly, we weren't incredibly close when Jay was young. I was working the farm a lot, and after his mother died, I wasn't in a very good place. Jay and I were more ships passing in the night. Free from what I could tell, Jay kept to himself. He never had too many friends around.
Oh, I see. As he grew up, did you just lose contact?
Well, we were incredibly poor. My son made the decision himself to attend St. Olaf College, and I was rather proud of him for that. However, I didn't know for months that he had dropped out only a few weeks in.
I see. Can you explain to us where Gatsby went after dropping out?
I cannot. I know he spent some time in the military and returned home. After attending his funeral, I have many questions myself about how he built this amazing life for himself.
Well, so you were at the funeral. What was that funeral like?
Well, it was really magnificent. I was just so proud of him and his house, and I was truly amazed at what he had built. It was a little sad, though, to see that even after all these years, he still didn't have many friends.
Oh, that is sad. Well, are you aware that some consider your son's life not so amazing? More specifically, can you tell us anything at all about the events leading up to his death?
I cannot. I wish I could, but I haven't spoken to Jay in years. It saddens me that he'll never know how proud of him I am.
Thank you for your time, sir.
It's evident that a childhood of isolation and poverty impacted Jay Gatz. How could it not? I mean, time and time again we see people who feel undervalued associate qualities from their past lives, particularly social status, with those negative feelings. As a child, Gatz saw how his lack of privilege put him at a disadvantage, and he later in life sought out all of his wealth and luxury, idealizing it in such a way that he lost sight of the bridge between reality and his fantasies. By associating wealth and lavish partying with happiness and satisfaction, Gatz was never able to attain that feeling of security everyone longs for, because he was chasing after something that simply isn't real.
And look to one of Gatsby's love interests, Daisy Buchanan, to see what she could say about her affair with Gatsby. The following video is a comment that we received from her upon trying to reach out to her.
Oh, I got her. Miss, I have some questions. About Mr. Jay Gatsby.
Right,
please, did you know him?
I'm sorry.
Please, miss, there'll just be a couple seconds.
Gatsby, I don't
Please.
know who that is, I'm sorry.
No, Mr. Jay Gatsby or Jay Gatz.
I'm sorry,
Do you know?
very
Come on.
busy. I've got to go.
Miss.
I'm very busy. Tom's
Miss.
gonna be so upset with me if I'm not home. You don't understand. I need to go.
We then reached out to Jordan Baker, a well-known friend of Daisy's, hoping she could give us an inside look on the Daisy Gatsby affair.
How many years have you known Daisy?
We both grew up together in Louisville.
How close were the two of you?
We were pretty close when we were young, and I feel like we only grew closer together as we grew up.
Can you tell us about her relationship with James Gatz?
Well, she was deeply in love with him until he left for the war. After he left, she somehow ended up with Tom. Don't really know how that happened. I talked to Jay one night at one of his parties, one of the famous Gatsby parties, and he told me he was still completely in love with Daisy. Cliche, but it happens. And he asked me if I could set up a meeting between the two of them. So I did.
Oh, interesting. So you set this all up?
Well, I wouldn't say I set it all up. I mean, Daisy's my friend, and I knew she wasn't very happy with Tom, you know, the whole cheating thing. So I thought, let's give it a shot. I set the two of them up.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Okay.
But of course, on our quest for justice, we couldn't leave out one of the most important characters in the Gatsby case, Wolfsheim.
Thank you for meeting with me today, Mr. Wolfsheim.
Please, just call me Meyer.
How well did you know Mr. Gatsby?
Oh, Gatsby? I knew him for years. That man was quite the hustler. Oh, and those parties he threw? Don't quite remember a lot of those nights, though, good sir. So not quite sure how much I can tell you about them.
I see. Well, I'm not as worried about the parties, or the business between you two.
Oh, I see. Well, me and Mr. Gatsby certainly were in business together. Sort of you scratch my back, I scratch yours sort of thing, if you get what I'm saying.
I think I do. Well, thank you for your time, Mr. Meyer. I may have some follow-up questions, so please stay in contact with me.
Of course, sir. Anytime.
Most know of Gatsby's large estate, but why are those that work inside so often forgotten? I mean, you can't get much closer to the real Jay Gatsby.
How many years did you work for Mr. Gatsby?
I worked for him for 4 years.
And can you tell me why you stopped working there?
I don't really know. One day I was washing his dishes. The other day I was at home looking through the paper trying to find a job.
Did Mr. Gatsby ever display any suspicious activity?
I don't think so. I mean, once I heard him on the phone with one of his business associates, and he was talking about, I don't know, it's just really hushed.
And what, if anything, did you hear him say?
I think I heard him say, good, good. It needs to be hushed, though, like, keep it hushed.
And what did you think of this exchange?
I didn't think much about it. I think he was ordering something for one of his parties because he usually just brought something different every time.
We knew we needed some legal commentary on the topic, but who to ask?
We were looking for the police chief. We knew exactly where to find him. Sir, I just have a couple of questions. No, got it.
What do you want, sir?
How did you meet Mr. Jay Gatsby?
Oh, Mr. Gatsby. Terrible tragedy. Well, I met him, I presume hundreds of others met him. At one of his extravagant parties, of course.
How acquainted did you become with Mr. Gatsby after you had met with him?
Well, we met for lunch a couple of times. Spoke at his parties occasionally as well. I would consider us acquaintances and nothing more.
Okay. Now, did you and Mr. Gatsby ever get into any sort of business together?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Okay. Allow me to be a little more specific. Did yourself and Mr. Gatsby ever come to some agreement over his business and his situation with the police force? Was there ever a relationship formed there?
I really don't know
Sir,
what you're talking about.
I'm pretty sure you do.
I really don't.
Sir,
I'm sorry.
I'm
the wife's waiting for me. I gotta go. I'm sorry. I have work to do. I'm very busy.
This is for an official. Sir. Go. Sir.
Many believe that both the murder of Myrtle and Gatsby are connected. However, no sources have yet proved that this is the case. We reached out to officers from the police force, but none were able to comment on the topic. However, here's what we think happened. 15 Minutes also did a thorough investigation of the Gatsby parties in particular. We later speak with a few attendants of these parties.
The Gatsby parties were incredibly symbolic for Gatsby's whole life. Faith. Gatsby never threw these parties to enjoy them. He meant only to project his wealth to the world, and in particular, Daisy Buchanan. Based on accounts and letters, it is evident that Gats did love Daisy as a young man. Upon meeting Daisy as a young military man with no certain direction, her young bubbly personality likely captivated him and was his first real love. However, often extensive time in the military can lead to delusional ideas about life before war struck. Gats morphed his ideas of Daisy into something it never was. Daisy Buchanan represented the entire American dream for Gats. She emanated all that he longed for, and all that he felt he missed out on his youth and adult years, especially his time in the military.
It was a really big party, and there was a lot of people there, and it was a really nice house, but I didn't get to see Mr. Gatsby.
Party was alright. The main focus I was there was all the girls. There was a lot of hot girls there. But I mean, other than that, it was trash. The food was horrible. No good drinks weren't my type. The drinks were really bad, just saying. Don't ever go.
Although I didn't see Mr. Gatsby at the party, I had a really great time. It was probably the best day of my life.
I mean, I always thought the Gatsby parties were a lot of fun. I mean, Mr. Gatsby, I'm not so sure about his character. I can't condone the bootlegging industry. However, I always thought his parties were flat. Thank you, Mr. Caraway, for meeting with me today.
It's my pleasure. Oh, and just Nick, please.
Well, could you please tell me how long you've known Mr. Gatsby?
I knew of him for much longer than I personally knew him. He's been throwing extravagant parties for years, but I only spoke to him earlier this summer.
Now, would you say you were close to Mr. Gatsby?
Once I started talking to him, we did grow kind of close, I would say.
Well, what, if anything, did you know of his businesses, particularly the illegal ones?
I knew he met with some shifty characters like a Mr. Wolfsheim, Meyer, I think. He once offered me a job, but I denied, so I'm not exactly sure.
So you know pretty much nothing about his business affairs?
No, not anything specific. I did hear he was a bootlegger, though.
Interesting. Well, what can you tell us about Gatsby's death?
I don't think he deserved it. He wasn't a perfect character by any means, but Wilson definitely shouldn't have shot him.
Wilson? What do you mean?
Oh, nothing specific.
Interesting. Well, what about his love life? What can you tell me about that?
He was infatuated with Daisy Buchanan for years and would do anything to get her.
Gatsby, dead at the scene. Today, on 15 Minutes, we've had the opportunity to look into the deeper issues surrounding Gatsby's death. As you stand across the bay, where Gatsby's house used to be, you see where he once looked over at Daisy, far across the water. The green light no longer shines, although if it did, Gatsby's no longer with us to see it anyways.
Jay Gatsby, a friend in the eyes of few and a foe in the eyes of many others. Can we safely say that his desire for material goods were the ultimate reason for his death? Maybe his lust? Or can we even blame Gatsby? Is high society to blame? Low society? We found the facts, but placing blame is not just black and white. It is riddled with greens and golds. Catch us next week with our investigation into the lives of long-forgotten pets on 15 Minutes.
You're the father of James Gatz, correct? Yes. Now, what can you tell us about
No, just keep going. Just keep going. We'll cut it. Just keep going.
You don't have to look each other in the eyes.
Thanks for sitting down.
And he said it was easy.
Our blooper reel is gonna be so much
Bro, this
better.
man's this man's looks like the dude from Bad Grandpa. I'm not.
I don't know what I did with my phone, but I hope it's somewhere.
When Grandpa learns how to play Fortnite, and this man just finished filling out his 401k. How does this man even know what Vine is? 7 years old.
Two bros, chilling in two chairs. 3 feet apart.
Someone get this man his breathing machine. Yo. I wasn't recording.
Chill for a sec. Let me relax for a minute and let's Ray stop. No,
You ready, baby?
Isaiah, stop.
What's looking good on the menu?
What are you doing?
Because bro, these lines are so long and like I can look at Ray for so long.
Kaelin's like, I have a vasectomy at 5.
Miss! 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 Miss!
We have to be bumping like really awkward music.
Oh yeah, finesse the whip.
Okay, that's enough.
Gatsby's father and the interviewer really seem to be enjoying themselves over there.
That sounds like
Nick Carraway. Are you gay?
infatuated with Daisy Buchanan for years and would do anything to get her. That's about all I know.
And now what about your relationship with Gatsby? What can you tell me about that?
Was Nick gay for Gatsby?
Everyone is gay for Gatsby.
Was Nick gay for Gatsby? Miss! Miss! Miss!
You thick.
Can you focus on my butt? Yeah. Did we bring it in?
I don't think so.
Stop recording so we can actually find the script! Yeah, it's... Yeah, that works.
You know, his party was pretty lit, you know. You know, his party, it was popping, you know. They had that jazz music coming with the scat, like...
Alright, I'm leaving. No, let's do that. That's part of the move, that's part of the thing.
No, hold on.
No, say that. Talk about that,
And
being
then I
drunk.
crashed my car on the way home.
Okay, yeah. Ready?
Any thoughts?
Papa Holland over here.
Does Nick Carraway love Gatsby? Find out next week.
Wow.